Hello everyone. Welcome to my YNR 24 Spoilers channel. While Audra and Kyle are fighting, Sally acts as the referee. This is your recap for The Young and the Restless Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025 episode. The Young and the Restless events. Holden on The Young and the Restless offered Claire a trip to Los Angeles. Audra told Sally at the Jazz Lounge that they might use the Abbott Communications launch delay to their advantage. Sally stated that it would not occur. The end of Abbott Communications, Sally complained. Sally felt guilty for not informing Audra sooner. Given her involvement and Kyle's possible response, she offered to step down if the plug was pulled. Sally underlined that Jack's withdrawal was unrelated to the company's decision to not proceed. Jack was asked to yank the money by Billy. Audra advised Sally to approach Jack. Sally summarized her experience at the Abbott residence. Diane possibly preventing Jack from forking over some investment funds caused Audra to react badly. This cannot be fixed, Sally sighed. Sally was informed by Audra that Billy should only be fixated on himself. Billy seemed to have thrown away Sally's career in order to further his own, Audra moaned. Sally questioned why she believed she would be unique in Kane's life. She mentioned that Billy would like to collaborate with Kane. According to Audra, Kane had them as hostages in France. Given the recent occurrences, Sally chuckled mockingly, frustrated that she had nothing. Audra inquired about the status of Sally and Billy's relationship. Billy had a vintage newspaper created about their prosperous and joyful future, Sally told Audra. Sally claimed that although she had backed him, Billy was unable to recognize that pursuing Chancellor Industries was a bad idea. She couldn't simply show up to pick him up when everything fell apart. Sally disclosed that she stayed at the Genoa City Athletic Club suite. The two were in the same boat, according to Audra. She claimed that both she and Sally will recover. According to Audra, they will not allow any man to prevent them from pursuing their goals in life. Sally summarized that she went to Abbott Communications after leaving Marchetti. She had huge intentions with Billy. Sally told Audra that if she ever lost herself to someone else, she should shoot her. She should partner with someone who won't slow her roll, Audra advised. Audra had to be that person, according to Sally. They have each other's backs, according to Sally. They could create the next big thing, Audra added. Sally was curious about that. Audra discussed the Abbott Communications policy and her attire. Sally pondered whether Audra was proposing that they start a boutique selling vintage apparel. Claire thanked Esther for her drink at Crimson Lights. She was shocked to see Holden in the back room after that. He informed her that his flight had been postponed till the next day. Holden inquired as to if she and Kyle were getting along better. She wasn't sure if that question had a simple response. Holden volunteered to listen for as long as she desired. They had the entire night, he said. Holden was informed by Claire that she wasn't sure she could forgive Kyle. Holden advised her to back off, but he stated it was not his position to provide advice. Holden said that if Claire desired distance, she should accompany him to Los Angeles, which is 2,000 miles away. Claire claimed she was at a loss for words. Holden insisted that because he likes Claire's company, he was asking as a friend. Holden quickly added that although he thought she was quite attractive, he respected her relationship status. According to Claire, she had never visited Los Angeles. Holden had a feeling she would adore it. According to Claire, she doesn't feel uncomfortable. Would she accept Holden's invitation? Holden recommended that he and Claire visit every tourist destination. Claire expressed her desire to go to Disneyland. Holden acknowledged that his name appears on his mouse ears. Even though it sounded like a lot of fun, Claire stated that, considering Kyle's feelings for Holden, she didn't believe it was appropriate to go away with him. I understand, he said. Claire expressed gratitude to him. At Society, Vicky was ordering a drink when Kyle walked up to her. Put that on my tab, he remarked to the server. Victoria encouraged Kyle to come. Kyle regretted that he was partly to blame for the conflict between him and Claire. Vicky claimed that Claire was reacting to Kyle's attempts to make things better and that she wanted to return to the previous state of affairs. Kyle groaned and said, "I'm to blame for everything." But he also said Victor put him in a position where he had to make bad decisions. Vicky remarked that seemed to her like trashing Victor, but he didn't want to do that. Victor most likely tampered with some of Vicky's relationships over the years, Kyle noted. Vicky mentioned that Kyle passed the test that Victor gave him. "Claire can handle some hard truths," Victoria remarked. "There is hope where there is love," Vicky said to Kyle. She was a romantic, he told her. Vicky was informed by Kyle that Claire had accepted his invitation to Paris, but she thought it was a diversion. "I guess I've run out of moves," Kyle remarked. Love is not a game, as Vicky noted. She advised him to stop thinking and begin acting on his intuition. Kyle speculated that Claire was trying to find an excuse for their failure to work. Vicky claimed that both the Abbotts and they are skilled fighters. "Claire has had to struggle for love her entire life," she said. Vicky mentioned that some family members found it difficult to forgive Claire for what she had done with Jordan. Vicky made the point that she and Kyle could find what they had lost without traveling to Paris. "Kyle has the option to fight," she continued. Vicky stood up for Kyle and Kyle praised her. Holden and Claire entered society at that very moment. By claiming to believe she was Vicky's sister or cousin, Holden won her over. Holden was still in town, which shocked Kyle. Claire consented to have breakfast with Kyle, but declined to speak with him at this time. Holden yelled out to Kyle to say goodbye, but he ignored him and continued on. Kyle then went inside the lounge and placed an order at the bar. Someone was numbing their agony, Audra observed. According to Sally, Audra's game caused both Kyle and Audra to lose. According to Audra, she won a lover for herself. She regretted getting drawn into Victor's scheme. Sally recommended that Audra inform Kyle of that. That notion didn't exactly excite Audra. She requested that Sally refrain from discussing karma with her. Audra's initial plan wasn't for the greater good, as Sally tactfully pointed out. Audra was advised by Sally to attempt to strike a balance. Audra joked that if she lived to be 100, the cosmos would never be able to repay her because it owed her so much. "I make my own fortunes," she remarked. Audra said she is happy to debate ideas with Sally, but Sally claimed that was simply another way of expressing karma. If Kyle couldn't handle what he caused himself, Audra stated it wasn't her responsibility. Kyle approached Sally and expressed regret for the Abbott Communications launch delay, but he also pointed out that it was for the best. "How is that?" Audra growled. Working with Audra, according to Kyle, only leads to disaster. Defending her buddy, Sally stated that she has no regrets about working with her. By claiming that Audra was merely expressing her regret for what transpired in France, she somewhat twisted the facts. "Really?" Kyle answered, "Are you acting like you have a conscience? Or is that the truth?" Audra expressed her apologies. Audra growled, "I'm sorry it took you so long to reach your lowest point." She quickly pointed out that Claire had threatened to contaminate her drink after sort of defending her. "Claire wasn't the only person who would want to do that," Kyle joked. Audra growled, "At least I'm not sitting here drinking by myself." "Claire isn't alone, I'm sure of it. It is likely that she is having a vesper with someone else. In any case, it makes no difference because she is no longer there." Kyle insisted that Audra failed and that she and Claire are doing well. Since Kyle couldn't prioritize the needs of others before his own, Audra pointed out that he wasn't a good fit for a relationship. "When Nate kicked your ass to the curb, did he tell you that?" Kyle retorted. "Or was it Holden following your altercation with him in Los Angeles?" Sally requested that Kyle slow down after he went in for the kill. While he might spend the night alone, Audra would spend the rest of her life alone. Kyle scolded her. Claire persuaded Holden to join her and Victoria back at society. He refused. Holden stated he will be returning from Los Angeles shortly and that it was a pleasure to meet Vicky. Vicky inquired about Claire's well-being. Claire was informed by Vicky that she had misled Kyle about having to talk to her mother about work. Claire expressed her displeasure at seeing Kyle with her mother when she entered society. Vicky reassured Claire that the meeting wasn't scheduled. According to Claire, she had little control over who her mother spoke to. Vicky questioned Claire about her daughter's current anger at her. Claire wished she could have moved on from the incident. She also desired it, but she was aware that she was purposefully ignoring him. According to Vicky, Kyle had the same thought. Vicky assured Claire Kyle would be all right. According to Claire, she used to feel happy when she was with Kyle, but now she simply wants to flee whenever she sees him. She then turned to look at Holden. Regarding Holden, Claire remarked that she felt as though someone else might be irritating her. He's attractive, Vicky said. Maybe she just needs to live a little, Claire thought. Claire and Holden smiled at each other as Vicky was preoccupied with her phone. The referee that no one requested was Sally in the middle. Sally Spectra's enviable position as the referee in the simmering feud between Kyle Abbott and Audra Charles was one of the most notable aspects of the Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025, episode of The Young and the Restless, which demonstrated the soap opera's ability to strike a balance between character-driven conflict and overarching narrative arcs. Sally's involvement may have initially appeared incidental, just a woman torn between two unstable personalities following a botched business deal. But a closer look reveals that her presence speaks to the show's larger themes of loyalty, survival, reinvention, and the constant tug-of-war between intimacy and ambition. Sally's attempt to mediate between Kyle and Audra put her squarely in the middle of a personal and professional storm, mirroring her own continuous search for stability in a community where alliances change more quickly than the weather. Sally was both a mediator and an unwitting participant in the drama, since she is so susceptible to the same forces that are pushing Kyle and Audra apart, which is what made this confrontation so compelling rather than just her attempts to diffuse the situation. The spiral of Kyle Abbott, the weight of love and legacy. Kyle's role in this plot is both tragic and multilayered. Restlessness, guilt, and the lingering weight of expectations associated with the Abbott name have characterized his recent path. Here, Kyle's verbal fighting with Audra was about his frantic attempt to regain control over a life that has been slipping away piece by piece, not merely about personal betrayals or professional disputes. His confrontation with Audra was the result of his tense relationship with Claire Newman, his involvement in Victor Newman's deceptive schemes, and his propensity to lose his temper when cornered. Kyle's statement that collaborating with her could only result in disaster was more a reflection of his own destructive inclinations than an objective assessment. As someone who has always straddled the boundaries of charm and recklessness, family devotion and disobedience, Kyle's altercation with Audra was a reflection of his own shortcomings. His remarks to her were the verbal equivalent of self-destruction, scathing, harsh, and intended to cause pain. In addition to making her feel inferior, Kyle exposed how much of his identity is based on defensiveness and comparison by bringing up her past with Nate and Holden. He is a man at war with himself, and at that moment, Audra was the most convenient victim. The femme fatale struggling back, Audra Charles. If Kyle was on the decline, Audra was just as committed to get herself out of her predicament. Audra's unreserved ambition is what makes her one of Genoa City's most intriguing newer characters. She doesn't apologize for playing the game, she doesn't plead for forgiveness, and she doesn't let anyone tell her she isn't deserving of success, least of all a man like Kyle. Her conversations with Sally earlier in the show demonstrated her ability to reinvent herself, as she considered turning away from unsuccessful endeavors to create something completely new. Audra is both dangerous and likable because of her thirst for power and her ability to survive. Audra's scathing, incisive, and truth-based retort to Kyle's accusation that she was incapable of prioritizing the needs of others went beyond a simple self-defense. It was her method of taking back control of the story. Despite being played with by Holden, spurned by Nate, and manipulated by Victor, she remained unfazed and able to use insults as leverage. While Kyle might think he has the upper hand, Audra's perseverance implies she will rise again, possibly stronger than before. Audra's power rests in her refusal to be the victim. Spectra, the mirror and the reluctant mediator. Sally's contribution to this altercation was representative of her whole experience in Genoa City and went beyond simple comic relief or damage control. Sally has gradually changed from being a brazen outsider who enjoyed chaos to a lady looking for security and meaning. Her attempt to deflect Audra's venom and cushion Kyle's blows in this episode exposed her own internal struggle. Sally understands the terrible power of allowing anger to swallow one's ambitions, but she also sympathizes with Audra's hunger and her reluctance to let men control her destiny. Her decision to stand up for Audra, even fabricating an account to lead Kyle to believe that Audra had apologized, showed her devotion and her desperate attempt to maintain harmony. Sally does not want to witness the failure of another promising business. Two individuals destroying each other for sport is not something she wants to witness. Perhaps most significantly, though, is her reluctance to face her own anxiety that, should she fail to create something enduring, she too may be abandoned. Even though she knows deep down that Genoa City never follows rules, Sally used her role as referee to try to control the story and bring order to the chaos. Holden, Claire, and the triangle of parallel love. Another equally fascinating link emerged between Claire, Holden, and Victoria's wise views as Sally, Kyle, and Audra battled it out in the lounge. Holden's invitation to Los Angeles and Claire's reluctance to forgive Kyle added a new level of emotional temptation. This plotline effectively mirrored the disorderly lounge scenes, highlighting how relationships in Genoa City are constantly unstable and susceptible to external influences. Holden's effortless charm and his flirtation with Claire gave her something Kyle was unable to provide, an opportunity to feel wanted without the burden of distrust and betrayal. She is just as conflicted as Sally or Audra, though, as evidenced by her refusal, which was couched in loyalty to Kyle but laced with curiosity about Holden. This episode's genius was in the way it connected these plots. Claire considering her escape route, Sally mediating between firebrands, and Kyle caught between the two confrontations. The message was unmistakable. Everyone is fleeing from something, be it heartache, failure, or the specter of familial expectations. Victoria Newman, the experienced voice. The episode was anchored on generational knowledge through Victoria's interactions with Kyle and Claire. Victoria acted as the strategist in contrast to Holden, who lured with distraction, and Sally, who attempted to referee in the heat of the moment. While acknowledging her own past of being exploited by Victor, she reminded Kyle that love is not a game. She understood Kyle's suffering because she had experienced it herself, and her counsel was both practical and intensely personal. Victoria's presence reminded Claire that moms and daughters in Genoa City are constantly vulnerable to misinterpreting one another and allowing past traumas to influence present decisions. Victoria served as the episode's conscience, essentially acting as a check on Kyle, Audra, and even Sally's impetuous behavior. Where everyone is left after this, the pieces were ready for more explosions at the end of the show. Despite her best efforts, Sally was unable to stop Kyle and Audra's conflict from getting worse, and her attempts at mediation only served to highlight how unstable she is. Audra left the encounter with a stronger will to establish herself, while Kyle, more alone than ever, kept alienating everybody around him. Victoria reminded everyone that family dynamics in Genoa City are never clear-cut or straightforward, and Claire, torn between Kyle and Holden, showed that her heart is still indecisive. The way each character shared their deepest fears, Sally's fear of being irrelevant, Kyle's fear of being abandoned, Audra's fear of being invisible, Claire's fear of making the wrong decision, and Victoria's fear of seeing the next generation make the same mistake she did, was what really made this episode resonate, not just the heated exchanges or the confrontations. On weekdays, watch brand new episodes of The Young and the Restless on Paramount Plus and CBS.